Good, strange, and different Sunday morning to you, my friends. I'm here at home with my coffee. I just had a warm cinnamon roll. I hope amidst all that's crazy, you are finding normal joys within it all as well. This is a second video to go along with the first, in case you want a homily this morning. We split them because, as crazy as it sounds, everybody may not want a homily. And because we're new to all this and aren't sure what's too big a file to share. So if you're here, welcome. Welcome to the worship of Woodbrook Baptist Church in the days of the 2020 coronavirus diaspora. Psalm 46 seemed like a good psalm for these days, don't you think? God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. It's not the lectionary text. It's not what was planned for this Sunday, but it seems relevant, appropriate. Sydney read it on the other video. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in very present danger. So timely. But if you have a Bible, as in you're looking at it, or a psalm online, you'll see that Psalm 46 is one of the psalms with a superscription to the leader we read, presumably the song leader. But maybe the psalm has something to say about leadership in general, directed to anyone wanting to be a good leader, to the kind of leaders we need. Let's keep that possibility in mind. Next, the superscription reads, of the Korahites, who were the song leaders of ancient Israel. The superscription concludes according to Alamoth. Alamoth literally meaning virgins, but in the context of music meaning sopranos or women singing. Them's the facts. But maybe the leader is supposed to be aware of more than just the history of the song, that it came from the song leaders. Have y'all seen that video of quarantined Italian singing? There are several versions filmed in different locations throughout Italy. The one I saw and heard was recorded in the city of Siena. What if we think of song leaders not as worship leaders, not as pop stars, rock stars, but as those who unite an isolated, fearful people? The leader is also not just supposed to know that this is a song for women to sing, but that means it's also a song for men and women to hear. That there's something powerfully significant, not just about unity and singing together, though that's certainly true, but very particularly about the sound of women's voices. I'm guessing many of you have known Psalm 46 is the song on which Martin Luther based his hymn, A Mighty Fortress is Our God. When you read this psalm of assurance, you are reading lyrics that have been sung through millennia of Jewish worship and Christian, assurances that have been offered throughout the ages and still are in churches around the world today. God is our refuge and strength, a very help in very present danger. So much resonance to that, these coronavirus days, is there not? Amidst coronavirus stress and uncertainty and frustration and anxiety. But with God as refuge and strength, we will not fear. Though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult, we will not fear, even amidst the chaos of change, the chaos of a new normal, an unsettling normal, even in chaos that has the world shaking from the mountains at the bottom of the ocean, making the waters roar and foam, to the highest peaks trembling as well. Even in chaos that has Italy shut down, Spain and France shutting down, schools out, sports canceled, Disney World closed, Broadway dark. Amidst all that's scary, nonetheless, we will not fear. Remember, within all this chaos, all that's scary and uncertain, it's women singing, women boldly proclaiming this assurance. I love that. Amidst a world shaking from top to bottom, it's the women who are strong. There is a river whose living water makes glad the followers of God wherever they live, within the holiness of God's presence. Wherever we find ourselves, gathered in sanctuary and community, or scattered in our various homes. There is creation imagery of God watering all of creation, of God ensuring that what we need to sustain life flows freely. Here, that physical reality is wonderfully paired with living water flowing in abundance and soothing the soul. Living water, of course, an image Jesus will embrace, in my mind associated with abundant life. God is with us and we will not be moved. God will help us when the morning dawns. And in the truth of God's presence, all our divisions by nationality, all our defense of borders, in truth, all our various identities, be they of nationality or ethnicity or gender or religion, they totter. God speaks, and the way we talk about distinctions and us and them melts, for God is with us. God is our refuge. Women singing of how God undermines the divisions that men, as leaders in a patriarchal culture, have made and maintain. God undoes all that separates us. Are the leaders listening? Come and look at how God works, sing the women. Look at the destruction God wreaks. That sounds odd, doesn't it? The destruction God brings, but not how I tend to think of God. But we read on, God destroys wars. God breaks down the weapons of war and shatters the instruments of war. God burns the technologies we think keep us safe. God destroys those things in which we place our trust, thinking they offer us security in the world. Women singing of God destroying what has predominantly been the province of men, right? Trust in strength, trust in might, trust in armies, trust in weapons, trust in guns, trust violence. Be still, or maybe more appropriately here, shut up, and know that I am God. How amazing, how radical that in that patriarchal culture of old and in our patriarchal culture today, everyone is to hear the statement, I am God, through the voices of women. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the world. And remember, again, sung precisely by those not exalted in the world, but oppressed. Heard in the singing of those silenced in the world. Is that not fascinating? God is with us. God is our refuge. It's a true affirmation for all who hear. It is true as well for the women singing. It's interesting, the Trappist monk and mystic, poet and student of comparative religion, theologian and social activist Thomas Merton said, "The Psalms will above all tell us not merely what we ought to be, but the unbelievable thing that we already are. We are at the same time in the desert and in the promised land. As those who walk in God's way, we are ever on the way, but our destination is always with us." Thomas Merton went on to claim, the Psalms are our bread of heaven in the wilderness of our exodus. And so we hear this psalm as both testimony of the ages and as prayer for now. In truth, that is always the testimony of our faith. It was true, that's the story we tell. It has been true, that's the testimony of our heritage, and it will be true for us, that's our faith. So my friends, amidst natural disasters, and natural disasters we compound through ignorance, incompetence, and arrogance, human ignorance, incompetence, and arrogance, not anyone's in particular, though also anyone's in particular, we find assurance and sustenance in the truth of God and the truth of God's people. We take comfort in the presence of God and in the community of God's people, even in the face of today's hardships and disasters. Even in our isolation, in our anxiety and fear, in our concern for loved ones, for older parents and grandparents, extended family friends, former teachers and mentors, for those we love in hospitals, vulnerable, those in treatment, we sing. We join our voices in song like those indomitable Italians. We join our voices to the women's voices, to the mothers. It was our mother's voices we first heard and felt, right? The vibrations in her body, in her womb. It was she who nurtured and loved and taught us from the beginning, whom we first knew to trust, whom we knew would provide. We join our voices to the mothers and the grandmothers, the sisters and the aunts. We join our voices to the lovers, the voices of those we first heard and knew to trust, the voices of those in whose arms we have always taken comfort, but whose voices we then come to neglect, to mute, to shout over, to overpower. Hear the women singing. Remember the women singing. My friends, it is going to be all right. Not because I say so, who am I to know, but because those are the words of your mother, aren't they? From when you were but beginning. It's going to be all right. Let me kiss it. It's going to be all right. Let me hold you. It's going to be all right. I love you. And that's where we are to hear the voice of God, right there in what is most intimate and most comforting and most true. I invite you this morning and every morning to relax into the voice you first knew, the voice you knew as you were being knit together in the womb, the voice of the one who has always provided and loves, the voice of God saying, "Trust me, my child, everything's going to be all right. I love you." even now. It is so. My friends, it is so. God bless you all.